Today I'd like to give a demonstration on how to complete your final Garageband project. When you launch Garageband on your computer, you may come up to any number of various screens. Here is a screen that opens because this is the last song that I was working on. If you get this screen, just go to the File menu in Garageband and choose New, and it will bring you to this screen or something similar to it. Now, many of your Garageband programs have different options up here, so just to make it easy for everybody, we're just going to double click on the one that says Empty Project and I'll talk you through now how to complete your final project. Okay, so the criteria for your final project are that you would create a song with a verse and a chorus that would contain loops and digital audio. That would be you singing or reading or rapping, and also loops that probably are generated with GarageBand. Though since now you know how to do Band in the Box, you'd be welcome to include Band in the Box materials as well. Okay, first of all, I'm just going to go ahead and create an audio track. I'm not going to use this right now, but I will be using it to record my song in just a bit. Next, I'm going to begin creating some loops, and you can explore these loops to your heart's content over here, but what I'm going to do is just grab a piano loop here, and I kind of like this ballad 70s piano here. And I click on it and it plays for me. Here, I'll see if I can. So you can hear that. Yep, okay, I like that loop, so I will use it in my composition. I'll drag it into the screen and drop it about here, and this is going to form the basis of my composition. Now I'm actually going to scoot this over 2 measures, and that's four measures, and I want to have a verse, let's say, of 8 measures. So I'll use that for my verse. Okay. Let's say that I listened to this one and decided that, well, that makes a pretty nice chorus. So I'm going to drag it into the same track. Once again, it's just 4 measures, so I need another 4 measures for the rest of my chorus. And actually, I'm just going to end on a 4-measure fade out or a 4-measure ending here. So I'll take it another 4 measures. Okay, now this is a pretty basic composition. I've got an audio track for me to sing in and a loop track with some piano sounds. I'm going to come up here to my loops and reset this, and I'm going to click on the bass button here, and there are all a number of different kinds of basses that you could choose. I'm just going to go with the bread and butter bass number 1 and drag that into this location right here. And I actually like the way that this sounds, not only with that 1 measure, but with this entire chorus. So when I put that together, I have piano and bass, and they're doing just fine. Now, I do have to say that not all loops that you drag up here are going to work together, and so you may find that you have to edit them a little bit in order to get the harmonies to line up. I'll show you a little bit about how to do that. Alright, I'm auditioning some other basses now to see if I can find one I like. Okay, I like number 6, so I'm going to drag that in over here and drop it in. Now, one thing that you can tell is if you loop this over and over here, this actually is not going to match the harmony that's found here. So what I'm going to do instead is to drag it in 4 different times and then edit it so that it actually does match the harmony. You don't have to get all this trouble if you can find loops that do match and encourage, and in fact, if you're inexperienced with this, I would encourage you to do that. Okay, so I'm going to double click on this piano roll here. I'll open up the score, and now just have a look at the piano part and see what it looks like here. Okay, so starting at measure 11, which is where that piece starts, you'll notice that the bass needs to mostly be sung on a C. And when I click on the bass here, you'll notice that the bass does indeed primarily center on a C. There are a few chromatic notes in there. I'll just leave them for good flavor. Okay, if you will click on measure 12 now and go to the piano part, you will see that the bass primarily needs to be focusing on a B. And if I open up my bass part here in measure 12, I'll find that it's not really doing B's, it's more on the C's. So I can just select all that and drag it down one level so that it really does mostly focus on B's. I decided not to leave the chromatic in this time and instead to use more diatonic harmony. And I'm going to click on this measure. This is measure 13 for the piano. And in 13 for the piano, you'll notice that the bass primarily needs to be playing a B flat. When I click on measure 13 in the bass, you will see that he's not really too close to that B flat, so I'll just drag the bass down so it's close to the B flat. And once again, I think this is probably overdoing the chromaticism just a little bit, so I'll make this match the key just a little bit better. Yep, very good. And then I have one more to do, and if you will notice here in measure 14 in the piano part, that the bass should be primarily on an A. So when I click over on the bass part, you see he's still kind of focusing on that C area. I'm going to drag this down to about an A. So once again, you don't have to, and by the way, that is very diatonic and it works real nicely. In order to be able to loop these four together, I'm going to go to my edit track here and join this region. And now I'm going to take the loop button and just loop this out 4 more times. And that actually should work pretty well. Okay, so if I play a little bit of that, you'll hear what it sounds like. So there's nothing the matter with that bass part. It's just a fine bass part. It's a little busy, but I really didn't take time to think all that through. It's still going to work just fine though. Okay, so I'm now going to close my drums and close my loops here. And I actually close my loops. I really do want some drums added to this, but instead of using loop drummers, which by the way, there are plenty of loop drummers in here. You can just click on drums, navigate through these, find some drummers that you like the 70s ballad drummer, drop them in, and you might find one that's kind of doing slow things for the verse, and then one that's doing faster things for the chorus. Okay, all of those would be perfectly fine. But I would like to show you yet another way of doing drums here. So up here in the track menu, there's an option that says New Track, and I can choose a special type of track that is a drummer track. This is going to be a automatically generated drum track, and I'll hit the Create button here. And okay, this kind of did an interesting thing. I have scooted all of this over because I'm going to have a 2-measure introduction here, but they really don't know what I'm doing, so they didn't actually put the drums in exactly aligning with my verse and chorus. So I'm going to scoot all of that over there, drop it in right there. And also, I need a 2-measure intro for the drums, so I'm going to pull that down to 2 measures, copy that, undo so that it goes back to full value, rewind to the beginning, and then paste the drummer in at the start. I've got a 2-measure drummer. I think for my intro, what I would like to do is get these 2 measures at the end of this. So I will select these 2 tracks, Command T to split. You can also find it in the edit menu as split regions at the playhead. And now I'm going to drag these, I'm going to copy these, Command Z to undo the split, rewind to the beginning, click on this track, clear my selection and paste it in. And so now I've got a 2-measure introduction and a 8-measure verse and an 8-measure chorus, and then I've got a 4-measure fade out. And I think I will loop my drums so that they continue into this pattern as well. And let's see what else we can do here. Okay, very good. So now we're ready to create our audio track. So I'm going to start singing the audio track here at measure 3. And to do that, I'm just going to hit the record button here. I put my playhead at measure 3 where I want to come in after the intro, and I will press the record button.
God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that everyone who believes in him will have eternal life, will have eternal life, will live forever with him, will have life will live forever with him.
Okay, so now I have composed my song, and that's all in there. One thing that you will notice is that I left the headphones out so that you could hear both my voice and the accompaniment. When you are recording, you actually want to record with your headphones in, and I had previously done that on this other version of the song here. Well, okay. I was going to show you that, but I'll just go ahead and leave it as is. So you can record your song here. There are a couple of things you may want to do that would help you edit this. I'm going to double click on this one, and you will notice down here I have some editing features open. I'm going to close up some of these tools because I don't need all of them at this moment. But I'm going to double click on this. It'll open up a track, and on the track button I have a region area that lets me set time quantization, and if I wanted to round that off to the nearest pitch level, to the nearest beat, I could turn this on here and say round all the notes off to the nearest quarter note or eighth note or 16th note. Because this has got both my audio and the accompaniment in it, it's probably better not to apply any of that at this point. Had I recorded this with headphones in and only had my audio, then this would be good for recording. Okay, next I'm going to click on the track button, and you'll see there's a pitch correction. And once again, if you have recorded and have if you have recorded this and you have only got your voice in here, then this pitch correction works real well. Don't turn it up to 100%. It gives kind of a T-pain effect with a real fast attack on the pitch correction. Put your pitch correction about here, and you'll get a nice result. Okay, the other thing I can tell you about this particular track also is that we can also add some effects to this as well. And let me see if I can figure out how to do that real quickly. Okay, here we go. If I want to edit the vocals on this track, I can do that very easily just simply by clicking on this drawer to open up the options here, and then coming down here to the voice settings, and under the voice settings I can choose options here such as bright vocal, and it applies those settings to this particular track. And so now there has been a unique EQ applied to this, or they have other options as well. Here's a classic vocal, here's a compressed vocal. You just have to listen to each of these. Some of these experimental and things like that will give you some very unusual things. Some fuzzy vocals will give you a little distortion on your vocal. Feel free to experiment with each of those. You might find some editing effects that really give you a nice effect. Up here under the legacy effect under GarageBand, you'll find specific vocals such as Epic Diva. This has tons of reverb turned on. You might find something like Male Basic, which would be something like me that would be EQ'd specifically for vocal males. You might find something like male R&B or male rock vocals. And once again, the settings on each of these tracks will be applied to this voice now, and it better matches each of those styles of music. Notice that they have a good collection of female and male vocals as well as other effects. Okay, once you have completed this much of your project and you've got it ready to share, what you're going to do is you're going to go to the share menu, and you can export this to or send this song to GarageBand. Normally you'll find an option in this area that says send the song to GarageBand. And if you do that, then on your Wix web portfolio, what you'll do is you'll just make a link to that YouTube. I meant to say you can send it to YouTube. You can send this to YouTube, and you can make a link to that YouTube file. If you want to, you can also export this song to a disk. I will say that I believe we have determined that the Wix web portfolio doesn't know what to do with AAC files, so you would need to choose MP3, possibly AIF or WAV files. And if you export that file, and we'll call this my final song, and put that on the desktop where we can find it, and export that as an MP3, then you can just upload that entire song to your web portfolio, and you'll be done with it. Okay, if you have any questions, please email me, frichmond@valleyforge.edu. Thank you. Have a great evening. Bye.